What's going on, everybody? Kalipa's Tech here, coming back at you with another video. In this video, I'm going to be doing a comparison between the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G and the Samsung Galaxy A32 5G. These are two pretty entry-level 5G phones, and in this video, we're going to be going over some of their differences to help you decide which one is a better fit for you. Now, as always, before we go any further, I do want to remind you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It helps out the channel a lot. And if you want to learn more about either of these phones specifically, be sure to check out my full reviews and the tips and tricks guides for these phones on the channel. But with all that being said, let's get started. So the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G has a 6.5-inch PLS TFT display with a resolution of 720p, a PPI of 270, an aspect ratio of 20:9, and a screen-to-body ratio of about 81.1%. We got a hole punch up here for the front-facing camera, and this camera is 5 megapixels. Overall, for what it is, I do think the display looks really nice. Despite only having a 720p resolution, we got a nice crisp image, and the colors in general are really bright and bold. Another cool thing about this display is it has a 90Hz refresh rate, so the movement on the screen is going to be a little bit faster and smoother, giving you a better experience when you're doing stuff like streaming videos and all that. The Samsung Galaxy A32 5G has a 6.5-inch TFT display with a resolution of 720p, a PPI of 270, an aspect ratio of 20:9, and a screen-to-body ratio of about 81.6%. So in almost every way, these phones actually have pretty much the same display. The Samsung Galaxy A32 5G, as you can probably tell, has slightly thicker bezels, but as far as the resolution and display quality in general goes, both of these phones are pretty much the same. They're not going to be amazing, being only 720p displays anyway, but for more entry-level phones, I do think they look really good. I would say the displays are brighter than that of lots of other phones in the same price range. And at 6.5 inches, while not being notably large, they're definitely not small. And I would say if you're streaming videos, playing games, even reading, things are going to be showing up nice and large on these displays. Now, as far as the refresh rate goes, the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G does have an advantage over this specific phone in my hand, because although there are Samsung Galaxy A32 5Gs out there that do have 90Hz displays, this specific model only has a 60Hz refresh rate. I don't know why they do that, but there are several versions of the A32 5G out there, so keep in mind that some of them do have 90Hz displays and some of them don't. And this specific one, unfortunately, doesn't. But with that being said, although having a 90Hz display is going to give the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G an advantage, it's not really going to be a game changer. So seeing that these displays are otherwise almost exactly the same, I wouldn't personally make a decision based on that. Now, the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G has 64 gigabytes of internal storage with microSD card expansion, and the Samsung Galaxy A32 5G has 128 gigabytes, also with microSD card expansion. Now, again, keep in mind there are other variants out there of the A32 5G that only have 64 gigabytes, but this specific one does have 128. But with that being said, definitely keep this difference in mind here, because the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G, as far as I know, only has 64 gigabytes. There is no 128 gigabyte variant. So if you do want more storage than that, maybe you're a power user and you have a bunch of apps and that sort of thing, or you take lots of photos and videos and don't want to use a microSD card, whatever the case may be, if you do want more internal storage, keep in mind that it is an option with the A32 5G if you get the higher variant with more storage. But with the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G, it's not an option. There's only one amount of storage, again, as far as I know. This could change because sometimes different carriers do have different variants. And this phone is still so new that it's currently only available with AT&T, so again, we will see. But right now, as of the recording of this video, there's only a 64 gigabyte variant with this phone. So if you do want more storage, I would say the Samsung Galaxy A32 5G is going to have an advantage. Now, neither of these phones have wireless charging, but for security options, both of them do have face unlock, as well as fingerprint scanners right here on the sides. I do like the fingerprint scanners in this location. It's really nice and convenient because if you're going to be tapping the power key to wake up the display anyway, being able to unlock it at the same time is nice. So we're going to give these fingerprint scanners a try and see how well they work, starting with the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G. There we go, one more time. And there we go. Real fast and responsive, no issues here. Moving on to the Samsung Galaxy A32 5G. There we go, one more time. And there we go. So as you can see there, the fingerprint scanners on both these phones are really fast and responsive, probably some of the best in their price range, so no issues here. Now taking a look at the rear camera setup, the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G has a triple camera here with a 50 megapixel main camera, a 2 megapixel macro camera, and a 2 megapixel depth sensor for portrait mode. So a decent setup, especially with the main camera, but unfortunately we don't get an ultra-wide camera here, which is too bad because I think that feature is really useful. And when I see a triple camera, I'm usually expecting there to be an ultra-wide camera. So seeing that it's just a macro camera, not that the macro camera is really bad, but it's still disappointing because I like the ultra-wide camera a lot better. For video, this phone can shoot up to 1080p in both the rear and the front cameras, so no 4K or anything like that. So if you want to shoot in a higher definition, then this might be sort of a disadvantage. But all the same, I would say the video quality on this phone is decent. Now for the Samsung Galaxy A32 5G, we got a quad camera setup here with a 48 megapixel main camera, an 8 megapixel ultra-wide camera, a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera for portrait mode, and a 5 megapixel macro camera. So here we actually do get an ultra-wide camera, which I think is really nice because again, that feature is really useful and it's not even replacing the macro camera. The macro camera is still here, except it's actually a little bit better with this phone. So I would say overall, as far as the camera features go, while these phones are really close in terms of quality, the Samsung Galaxy A32 5G is going to have a bit of an advantage because it does have an ultra-wide camera, whereas the A13 5G doesn't. Now for video in the front camera, this phone has the same limit of 1080p, but in the rear camera, we do get 4K. So if you do want to shoot higher definition videos, the Samsung Galaxy A32 5G is going to have an advantage for that reason. Overall, compared to the average phones in their price range, both of these phones do have pretty impressive camera setups, especially when it comes to quality. But I do think the Samsung Galaxy A32 5G is going to have an advantage here because not only does it have an ultra-wide camera when the A13 5G doesn't, but it can also shoot in 4K as well. So with the A32 5G, you're going to be getting an extra camera and the ability to shoot 4K videos on top of that. Overall, if you want to take photos you're going to keep for social media or something like that, then I would say both of these phones are still going to be great for that. Internally, the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G is getting 4 GB of RAM with the MediaTek Dimensity 700 5G processor. The Samsung Galaxy A32 5G is getting 6 GB of RAM with the MediaTek Dimensity 720 5G processor. I ran Geekbench 5 benchmark tests on both of these phones, and the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G came back with a single core score of 467 and a multi-core score of 1111. The Samsung Galaxy A32 5G, of course, came back with a single core score of 504 and a multi-core score of 1670. So while the difference isn't exactly huge, there's definitely a significant difference here that's going to have a noticeable effect on performance. On one hand, the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G is going to be perfectly fine if you're going to be doing web browsing, social media, that sort of stuff. But if you want to do higher end activities like gaming and maybe some video editing, the Samsung Galaxy A32 5G is going to have an advantage here. If you're doing more high performance gaming like maybe Call of Duty Mobile, Fortnite, that sort of thing, that's really graphics intensive, I wouldn't try to do something like that on the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G. While this phone is going to be great for web browsing and social media, I still wouldn't say it's going to be the greatest with stuff that's really graphics intensive, partially because it only has 4 GB of RAM versus 6 with the A32 5G, but also the processor just isn't quite strong enough for that. On the other hand, I would say that if you really want to do that kind of activity, the Samsung Galaxy A32 5G, while not being the ideal device, it's still not going to be near the level of a flagship phone or even a higher end mid-level phone like the A52 5G. It's still going to be decently powerful and definitely strong enough to run something like Fortnite or maybe Call of Duty if you have a lower graphics setting or something like that. Now, both of these phones have 5,000 milliamp hour batteries that support 15 watt fast charging, so battery wise they are exactly the same, and these batteries are really good. Not only are they really large, meaning they're going to get a ton of life throughout the day, and down the road in terms of longevity, but the fast charging also helps so you won't have to wait quite as long when your phone is dying and you want to charge it up as you would with a phone that doesn't support fast charging. So overall, if battery life is a main concern for you, either of these phones are going to be great. Both of these phones also have NFC, and in case you don't know what that is, NFC is the technology behind contactless mobile payment services like Google Pay. So if you do like to use those features, again, either of these phones will be fine for that. It's nice to see that both of these phones have NFC, of course, but it was especially impressive to me to see that the A13 5G does, because this phone is really entry level, especially for a 5G phone, and I've seen much higher end 5G phones that don't have NFC, so that was a nice surprise. Either way, both of these phones are going to work with Google Pay since they both have NFC. So in conclusion, which one of these phones is better? Now don't get me wrong, independently, both of these phones are really great for what they are, and for normal activities like sending text messages, making calls, browsing the web, using social media, that kind of stuff, neither of these phones are going to have any problems. But with that being said, between the two, the Samsung Galaxy A32 5G is definitely the better device here. Not only do you get a variant with more storage, quite a bit more storage at that, but you also get a much better camera setup with an ultra-wide camera versus just having a macro camera and the ability to shoot 4K videos, and you also get quite a bit more processing power as well. The designs are really similar, they pretty much look the same except for the color, and the A32 5G being slightly thicker, but other than that they are pretty nice looking phones. But overall, I would say that everywhere there's a difference, the Samsung Galaxy A32 5G is just better. So in general, I would say if you're just considering the A13 5G and that's the one you want to get, then by all means go for it. But if you're even considering getting the A32 5G over the A13 5G, I would definitely go with the A32 5G because despite the A13 5G being a really good phone for what it is, the A32 5G is just a better device. And overall with this phone, you're going to get some better features and a better experience in general. But again, both these phones are really good entry-level 5G phones. They give you a lot of value for the money. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video and I hope you found this information useful as well. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And as always, I will see you in the next video.